Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Bud Heaton. Welcome to Mental Game Mechanics, where we talk about the mental game and how to optimize your mind to achieve success. And so, what I want to talk to you today for just a minute is how to start over once you've lost everything. Yesterday, I shared a video about where I came home from a 2 year service mission to the Philippines. And while I was there, I had made plans to do all these things and what I wanted to do when I got back to the United States and the career I was going to get into. I grew up in a family-run business. I worked for my dad for a lot of years. Kind of once I turned 12 or however old, I always helped, but as I got older and older and into my junior high school years, I helped more and more in a role with him as set designer and equipment manager, that kind of stuff. He was a photographer, commercial photography, so we had all kinds of clients coming in the doors. And so anyway, I after high school, I left for a couple years on the mission and did my thing there. And as I made plans to come home, there was a big problem that I didn't realize had happened. Is that my dad's business really tanked. It just kind of went down in 2010, just following the big market crash. People are getting more cognizant of their expenses and things like that, and so they started hiring people for cheaper for photography, and technology was getting better. And so his business kind of got flipped on its side, and he'd been trying to figure it out and whatnot. And he had a lot of really big clients, and part of the problem was my mom, who was kind of the relationship manager. She worked with all the clients, talked with hey, what do you guys need? How do we help? Da 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 da. She ended up getting sick with a brain tumor, and they pulled up like a tennis ball sized tumor out of the left side of her head. And I was in the Philippines when this happened, and I just remember I didn't know about it until after the surgery and everything like that. Just there's limitations, right? The way the service mission is designed, it's you're separated from the world, from family even, and you're just focused on what you're doing there. And it's good. It's a good thing. And my parents wanted me to focus on that, right? And so I didn't know a lot of things that were happening, right? I found out about my mom, right? But what I didn't know is that I was coming home to a new world where my dad's business wasn't thriving like it was when I left. And so leading up to the time that I got home, I had been planning on, all right, I got a job when I come home. I'm going to work for my dad. I'm going to help him grow the business. I'm going to keep da da da. That was the plan. I was going to do all these things and build a six-figure income working for dad and that kind of stuff. So when I got home and realized what was actually happening, it was tough. I really kind of hit a wall. Well, not a wall, but yeah. I mean, it was really hard. So I had to figure out what to do. All I had was my experience from the Philippines, which was invaluable. Living in a third world country. If you think you had it tough in America, go live in the Philippines. It's totally different. I didn't have any college experience, no real work experience other than working for my dad. So I had to figure out what to do, and I couldn't rely on my parents. They obviously helped me, as things came up or whatever. But I didn't want to go to them and be like, hey, I need this, help me do this, help me do this. My mom lent me her car. There's all kinds of stuff that they did so much for me. I really appreciate them. But the reality was I was starting from nothing, and my identity, who I was, what I wanted to be, and what I had figured out while I was gone, was gone. It disappeared, and I wasn't sure how to deal with that. I didn't know how to even think through. Oh, I didn't have a backup plan. What's my backup plan? I didn't have one. I didn't even know how to start. So coming home, like I said, I thought I had some stability, and I really didn't. And I was at a point where I had to rebuild and set myself into a new world and figure out a new path for myself. And I realized that, and this is really where everything shifted. I realized that I wasn't the first person to ever have to start over, right? Even my dad, right? His business tanked, right? He was struggling. I wasn't the only one, okay? We all have issues. We all have problems. We all have failures. We all have things where, you know, something happens, plans don't fall through, and guess what? There's sometimes nothing that we can do about it. And, you know, it was time to step up and suck it up and get going, right? And that was the shift. That's what really got me going, because I got into a place where I was super, dark and depressed, and like, well, who am I? What am I going to do with my life? And that emptiness, that dark, like, just it's paralyzing, right? It's paralyzing, and you're full of anxiety and angst and frustration, right? And like I said, I figured out it was time to step up, because I wasn't the only one in the world that had ever had to deal with this. In the Philippines, I saw hundreds of people, making ends meet with bamboo sticks and leaves, right? My problems were not as bad as somebody else's. And so the truly big shift that I made in my mind was that my circumstances were what they were, but they became what I chose to make them become. It's a quote that I learned a long time ago with my shooting experience. As I was learning to shoot, a coach once told me that it is what it is, and it becomes what you make it. And that was so true for this set of circumstances. I'm starting over, trying to figure things out, really frustrated and kind of depressed that I didn't have a plan. And I just had to say, hey, it is what it is, but it's time to move forward and make things work. And so I just started going, right? I went and found a job. It wasn't the greatest job in the world. It was a call center job, and it was fine, right? Got me going. I joined an MLM, started doing some personal development stuff, reading books and studying. I started college at the University of Utah. I started moving. I just started getting in motion and adding value and trying to be helpful in whatever role I'm in, whether I'm helping my dad with stuff, whether I'm at work, whether I was at school. I was helping other people, meeting new people, and just trying to be active and outgoing, and just started doing stuff. I just got going, and that was the secret, right? I just had to get going. And so as I get going, I had all these, I started getting these dreams and visions of what I wanted to achieve and what I wanted to do, and failure after failure, I just kept, struggling. And, just because I wanted something doesn't mean I was going to get it, right? You have to work, right? And so as you get going on your journey of whatever it is, right? If you're trying to rebuild and start over, right? You've got to keep pushing. Okay, you have to push through the trials. You have to just keep pushing every step of the way. Otherwise, it's really easy to get caught up in those dark moments where you're not sure what to do next, and get stuck in this cycle of, well, what do I do? Should I do this? What do I do? Should I do this? What do I do? Should I do this? And you go back and forth, versus just keep going, and you just keep pushing, whatever it is, right? It's not about necessarily what you're doing. It's about getting in motion. Laws of physics, right? An object in motion tends to stay in motion, and an object at rest tends to stay at rest. So think about it like that. If you've got to start over, just start building momentum and start practicing what I like to call aggressive patience. You're patient in the process, but you're actively seeking to achieve and do and accomplish things over and over and over again. And as I've kind of implemented this throughout my life, I've built a good life. It's not the ideal life that I want right now anyway, but I'm getting there. I'm working towards it. I've got a lot of things that I still want to accomplish, a lot of things that I still want to do. I'm nowhere by any means there, right? There is always out there, and here is always here. And so, I'm taking a moment right here now and just saying, hey, I've done some good things, and you have too. So if you shift your focus from there to here, focusing on what you've done and saying, hey, this is actually some really good stuff, That's that's achievement in and of itself. But you had to get there by staying in motion and getting going. And you're going to have trials. You're going to have a lot of lessons that you're going to learn, and we all are. And so it's about staying on the course and making the most of every single moment, because again, if we get caught up out there, we can't be here. And it's about being in motion and staying in value here to get to there.